We all have those errands we dread. And we meet different people, assigned different tasks. The long lines, the paperwork, the general air of bureaucracy, it's enough to make anyone feel like a number. I recently found myself bracing for the usual authority experience, but something unexpected happened. I was greeted by two very different clerks. One, let's call her Sarah, seemed visibly annoyed. Her tone was curt, her answers clipped. She went through the motions processing my paperwork with an air of indifference. The other, let's call her Diana, approached her task with a different energy. She was patient, asking clarifying questions and explaining each step. She even offered a kind word about the frustration of long lines. The difference between these two encounters was stark. Same office, same policies, yet two completely different experiences. It made me think, what shapes these interactions? Why do some people, even in seemingly mundane jobs, approach their work with empathy, while others struggle to see beyond the task at hand? Policies and procedures are the backbone of any organization. They provide structure, ensure fairness, and guide decision-making. But like any tool, policies can be used in various ways. How we manage their implementation is crucial. Sarah, the first clerk, saw her role as merely enforcing the rules. Her focus was on efficiency, on moving through the queue. Sarah was just doing her job. But what does her job truly entail? I wondered. There was no room for individual circumstances or a moment of human connection. Diana, on the other hand, understood that behind every transaction, there's a person. He saw beyond the paperwork and recognized the individual stories. She approached her work with a sense of purpose, knowing that even a small act of kindness could make a difference in someone's day. This difference highlights a crucial point. While policies are important, they should never overshadow the human element. When we let rules become barriers to compassion, we create a workplace that feels cold, impersonal, and ultimately ineffective. The contrasting approaches of Sarah and Diana might reveal a deeper issue at play: unconscious bias, even against oneself. We all carry biases and beliefs shaped by our upbringing, experiences, and societal conditioning. These biases influence our perceptions, judgments, and interactions, often without us even realizing it. In Sarah's case, her frustration with the system, perhaps fueled by workplace stress or personal experiences, seemed to color her interaction. Unconscious bias can manifest in subtle ways: a dismissive tone, a lack of eye contact, a reluctance to engage beyond the bare minimum. These seemingly small actions can have a profound impact, making individuals feel unseen, unheard, and undervalued. The key to addressing unconscious bias is awareness. We need to acknowledge that these biases exist within us, even when we have the best intentions. By recognizing our own blind spots, we can start to challenge our assumptions and create more inclusive environments. Diana's approach highlighted the impact of empathy. She chooses to go beyond merely doing her job. He took a moment to acknowledge my frustration, offering a simple, "I know these long lines can be tough." That small act of validation, of seeing me as more than just another face in the crowd, instantly eased my anxiety. It reminded me that even in the most bureaucratic of settings, human connection is vital. Empathy doesn't require grand gestures. It's about the small everyday acts of kindness and understanding. A listening ear, a patient explanation, a genuine attempt to see things from another's perspective. These are the building blocks of a more compassionate and inclusive workplace. When we lead with empathy, we create a ripple effect. Kindness begets kindness, and soon a culture of respect and understanding begins to take root. Empathy is a choice. Section 5. beyond the rule book. The DMV office encounter highlighted a crucial lesson that extends far beyond customer service. Doing our job effectively requires more than simply following the rules. It demands that we show up with our humanity intact, ready to engage with empathy, curiosity, and a genuine desire to understand the people we serve. This is especially important in workplaces striving for diversity and inclusion. Diversity is about representation. Inclusion is about creating an environment where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their unique talents. And that requires going beyond the checkbox of diversity quotas and digging deeper into the human experience. True inclusion means recognizing that everyone comes to the table with different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives. It's about creating a space where those differences are not just tolerated, but celebrated as strengths. Section 6. Building a culture of empathy. Cultivating an empathetic and inclusive workplace demands intentional effort. It begins with leadership setting the example from the top. Leaders must demonstrate empathy in their interactions, creating an environment where vulnerability is respected and mistakes are viewed as learning opportunities. Organizations can introduce training programs focused on unconscious bias, active listening, and perspective taking. These programs should extend beyond theory, offering practical tools and strategies for daily interactions. Establishing safe spaces for dialogue is essential. Employees should feel at ease sharing their experiences, perspectives, and concerns without fear of offense. This open communication fosters understanding, builds trust, and helps identify and address systemic barriers to inclusion. Chapter 7. Walking in another's shoes. One of the most impactful ways to foster empathy is to actively seek out perspectives different from our own. This might involve engaging in conversations with colleagues from diverse backgrounds, attending cultural events, or volunteering in our communities. Reading books, watching documentaries, and listening to podcasts that explore diverse experiences can also broaden our understanding and challenge our biases. The key is to approach these experiences with an open mind and a willingness to learn and grow. By stepping outside of our comfort zones and immersing ourselves in different cultures and perspectives, we develop a deeper understanding of the human experience in all its richness and complexity. Chapter 8. Small steps, big difference. Creating lasting change begins with small individual actions. While we can't dismantle systemic inequalities overnight, we can commit to showing up with more empathy and understanding in our daily interactions. This could be as simple as actively listening, paying attention to what others are saying both verbally and non-verbally, and making an effort to understand their perspective. Asking clarifying questions. Instead of making assumptions, ask questions to ensure we fully understand someone's meaning and intent. Use inclusive language. Be mindful of the language we use and choose words that are respectful and inclusive of all individuals. Speak up against bias. When we witness bias, whether intentional or unintentional, speak up and challenge those behaviors. These small steps, when practiced consistently, can create a ripple effect, fostering a more inclusive and empathetic workplace culture. Section 9. Dare to go beyond diversity. In a world often driven by metrics and efficiency, it's easy to lose sight of the human element. But true leadership, the kind that inspires and uplifts, requires us to lead with our hearts as well as our heads, to go beyond diversity. On a personal, process, and product level, let's dare to create workplaces where empathy is not just a buzzword, but a core value, woven into the fabric of our interactions and policies. Let's challenge ourselves to see beyond the rules and recognize the unique humanity in every individual we encounter. When we lead with empathy, we create a more just, equitable, and compassionate world one interaction at a time. And that's a job worth doing, even if it's not always easy. Because with every decision we make, we create an impact. I am Susan Omondi, your speaker who captivates your audience with clarity, presence, and real impact.